My name is Yoichiro Kanno, Associate Professor in the Department of Fish Wildlife Conservation Biology. I have been at CSU since 2017, and I study stream fish conservation and ecology. So I pivot around population ecology, but I study genetics, behavior, but also broader processes such as community assembly, ecological ecosystem level. I'm originally from Tokyo, Japan. I was born and grew up in Tokyo, so we didn't really have much nature in there. But I think the ties with the nature as a kid was to go fishing with my dad. We would go ocean fishing. So Tokyo is at it's facing the Pacific Ocean. So we will drive. We will take a train. So we will have the fishing rods and a big cooler, and then we will take train. And I also always had fish in my tanks. So I had fish from Africa, the Great Lakes, Amazon, Southeast Asia. So that's how I kind of grew up. What sparked my interest in science has a lot to do with those childhood experiences, I think. Fishing kind of led my way. I was always interested in those creatures, and then also like salamanders, crayfish, and of course, frogs. Those were captivating to me. So that's how I kind of got into science, and I did my undergrad in Japan. Meiji University was the university that I went to in Tokyo, and I did a BA in international politics and law. So I don't have BS, Bachelor of Science. I have a Bachelor of Art in law, and I actually worked as a diplomat for the government of Japan. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is the equivalent to Department of State in the USA. I worked there for 8 years, and as part of my training, I went to Canada and did my MS degree at Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So I studied environmental management there. My thesis was on how fish community shifts with anthropogenic disturbance gradient. So how you might have a mostly sensitive species dominated assemblages may shift with urbanization, ag, and then transition to more of the insensitive species. So I did that in Nova Scotia. That's where I learned electrofishing for the first time, which I now use routinely, and also teach how to catch fish. So that's what I did as my master's. And then I went back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a few more years. And then I kind of realized that I want to do more science than policy. So I quit and then came to the USA in 2006 to pursue my PhD at the University of Connecticut in stores. So my PhD on the transcript, it says PhD in natural resources, but my advisor was a fisheries management and ecologist. So I studied brook trout. So brook trout are the native species along the East Coast, and they're the species that a lot of people like to catch in the East, and also highly sensitive. So I used genetics and advanced statistical modeling to understand how climate change might impact brook trout populations in the East. And I also study brook trout now in Colorado, but in a very different context, because brook trout are the non-native species in Colorado, and brook trout are the bad guys that are out competing with the native cutthroat trout. But brook trout has a kind of special place in my heart, right? I've been studying the brook trout for now, 15, 20 years. And after PhD, I did 2 postdoc positions. The first one was at Tennessee Tech University in Cookeville, and I worked on program under the Endangered Species Act called Habitat Conservation Plan. So the East Tennessee or the Southeast in general is a hotspot for aquatic diversity, partly because that the Southeast was never glaciated. So a lot of the Northeast, glaciation happened, fish were wiped out, and then fish had to recolonize from the South. But then that glaciation didn't stop the process of speciation in the Southeast. So I worked on the HCP, Habitat Conservation Plan, and my role as a postdoc was to identify important areas in the landscape that are particularly important for the aquatic conservation. And after that, my second postdoc I did in Massachusetts at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. And I kind of went back to my brook trout world. And we looked at population dynamics of brook trout using mark recapture, but also at the broader landscape level using mostly GIS-derived data. Again, to identify the spatial temporal processes of populations and which areas are important for conservation and restoration. And then 2013, I started my faculty position at Clemson University, South Carolina. And that was my first faculty position prior to coming to CSU. I was there for 4 years. But then I had a very similar position there of tenure track faculty position with responsibilities in teaching, research, service, and engagement. Starting a lab is really not easy. Nobody teaches you in grad school how to start your lab or how to start your first position at the government agencies. So a lot of trials and errors. It really helps to have mentors. So a lot of people think that graduate students or students need mentors, but everybody needs mentors along the way. So I took advantage of having good mentors at Clemson and also at CSU as well. It's a challenge of having a decent midterm plan, but also dealing with the day-to-day challenges of managing multiple tasks, right? So I somehow was able to survive and then came to CSU in 2017. And I have stayed here. So same thing since I came here. You kind of have to start from scratch. I had never lived in the Intermountain West. I had never done field work here. So getting to know the ecosystem, species, and networks of people in a new place is always a challenge, but it's also a fun part, especially pre-COVID. It was more easy to meet in person, do field work in a large number of people. So that's how I started my lab. And my research I have done so far, impactful research I've done so far, has a lot to do with the population persistence of native salmonids in headwater streams. So headwater streams receive multiple anthropogenic threats, and the big one is the invasive species, habitat fragmentation, and one paper I did, we looked at the meta-population dynamics of fragmented populations in Japan. And then we found that there are some very small tributaries, 2-meter wide, that appear to be functioning as source populations and helping the downstream fragmented main stem to persist due to the immigration or emigration from the tributary to the main stem. And that's helping how managers manage fish passage or dam removal, culvert replacement, improvement. So I think that's something that I'm very proud of in the sense that I was also able to translate science into policy and management. And I work with my colleagues in Japanese in a different language. I think I really appreciated that experience because all my scientific background or education training happened in North America. and I never worked with my colleagues in Japan prior to coming to CSU. So this is a recent experience. And was there ever time, in my life where I thought science was not for me? And I feel that every day, in a way. You look at my colleagues at CSU. I always feel like there are more qualified people out there. But at one point, I think I've come to learn to like what I do, be comfortable with what I am, and I try not to think, imposter syndrome, I think, right? And then try to internalize, success where I can. So that's what I do. And also I already made one big shift from the international politics and law to fisheries and ecology. So I feel like I know the cost of moving a career changes, right? It's a big change, right? And you have to go through training again. And to me, yeah, I don't think I'm ready for another, big shift. So I think that's kind of how I started, how I got here, how I do nowadays.